You finished your work for the day, the laptop is closed, and you're trying to relax, but an invisible psychological background process is still running. It shows up at 1 in the morning when you find yourself mentally drafting and redrafting an unsent email while you're staring at the ceiling. You can see the evidence of this divided focus in your browser, those 40 open tabs you refuse to close because you might need them later. If these unfinished tasks are supposed to be harmless, why do they drive a spike in evening tension and make it so difficult to actually detach from work? This persistent mental tugging isn't just a habit. It is a measurable symptom that demands a more precise scientific explanation than we've been given. The story begins in 1920s Berlin, at a time when psychologists were first trying to map how our goals interact with our memory. Researcher Zeigarnik observed cafe waiters had perfect memory for unpaid orders, yet immediately forgot the details of a bill the moment it was settled. This led to the 1927 hypothesis of the Zeigarnik effect, the idea that the brain holds on to unfinished tasks specifically to improve your recall of them. Over the next century, this observation became a staple of productivity advice. Students and workers were told to leave tasks incomplete on purpose to keep the information fresh. The promise was simple. If you leave a loop open, your memory systems will do the heavy lifting for you. But relying on this piece of folklore has turned our memory into a trap. By focusing on recall, we've spent a century looking at the wrong part of the problem. In 2025, a quantitative meta-analysis finally subjected this century-old memory claim to a modern, rigorous data check. After pooling 37 separate studies, the results were blunt. Interrupted tasks are recalled no better than completed ones. The classical Zeigarnik effect failed. But the analysis did confirm a different, more obscure phenomenon discovered by Zeigarnik's colleague, the Oceankina effect. This is a behavioral urge to resume an interrupted task when given the chance. It's not about memory at all. It's a physical compulsion to go back and finish what you started. A 2026 study of over 12,000 people examined the actual cost of this urge when we try to go home for the day. These open loops act as distinct job stressors. They block our ability to recover, driving intense rumination and tension long after we've stopped working. The old belief was wrong. An open loop doesn't sharpen recall, it forcibly occupies your attention. By chasing a memory advantage that doesn't exist, we have been encouraging a habit that actively degrades our mental recovery. To understand why this occupation is so draining, we can look at the structural explanation provided by the ODTOE framework. In this model, a task is a trajectory moving toward a resolved fixed point. An unfinished task is a path halted midway. This creates a coherence restoration rate, a force pulling the system to close the gap and restore balance. When you hold several unfinished tasks, your internal system attempts to maintain all trajectories simultaneously. Your attention budget splits across every open loop. As tasks grow, the focus available for each is diluted further and further. Even when you aren't looking at them, each one of those loops is running an active background process, trying to restore its own coherence. Your 40 browser tabs aren't a digital filing cabinet. They are active, energy-draining processes that are constantly pulling on your limited supply of attention. When we feel this stress, the common reaction is to try and check the box as quickly as possible to make the feeling go away. But there is a difference between finishing a task and phantom closure, ticking a box or archiving an email without actually processing the material. Phantom closure abandons the trajectory before it reaches the fixed point. The box is checked, but the underlying psychological tension remains unresolved. The pull only truly stops when the system reaches resolution through actual learning and retrieval. You can't trick the brain's demand for true closure. But what do we do when we physically cannot finish a task before the end of the day? A classic 2011 study found a solution. Writing a highly specific next step plan, the when, where, and how, can neutralize the intrusive pull of an unfinished goal. Formulating a precise next step secures the trajectory. It convinces your brain that the path is settled, allowing the system to let go. To protect your attention, you must stop relying on your memory to hold your open loops. You have to close them, either through true completion or a concrete plan.